Hey there Slayers, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first episode of Scouse Slayer's rewatch. Before I get into it, if you like what you see here on this channel, please, or on this video, please give it a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. So basically this idea came to me a few days ago while I was thinking I'm due for another rewatch over Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I was thinking, well, I don't really want to go season by season. I want something to jazz it up a bit. So there's two rules that I've set myself for this challenge, for this rewatch. If you want to follow the rewatch yourself and do it yourself, these are the two rules that I am setting. Number one is that you can't watch one episode and then automatically go on to the next episode. You have to do a random number generator to generate the next episode that you want. For example, if you want to do a binge watch of Buffy. Now, rule number one is exempt for two-parters. For example, Graduation Day Part 1 and Part 2, What's My Line Part 1 and Part 2, Becoming Part 1 and Part 2, Bargaining Part 1 and Part 2, and so on and so forth. So they are the two rules that I've set for myself and for anybody else who wants to follow this challenge. And we will see what episode gets chucked out, because to be honest, I am praying Siri gives me a decent start off to this rewatch. Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 144.
A random number between 1 and 144 is 77.
Episode 77 is Prime Evil, and that is in season 4. And as a whole, the episode is a really solid episode. I feel like even as the second to last episode, it could have served as a season finale, minus the 2-minute end credits at the end of the episode. I don't feel like that was needed, to be fair. But I know it wasn't the season finale, but it could have easily been the season finale. And I know, like, Joss likes to do foreshadowing and a little bit of niblets. Get that? Niblets. In the season before to hint at what could be happening in the season after. So for that reason, it's a really good episode. But yeah, it could have standed alone as a season finale. On the whole, this episode has so many good things going on as well. To start off, we start the episode where Buffy's alienated from all of her friends, where she's alone. She goes to find Riley and he's nowhere to be seen, but she doesn't realise that Riley's been captured by the Initiative and by Adam. I also liked how when Willow and Tara go to Giles to pick her laptop up, he's hungover, and you can tell that he's hungover. I like that he's still trying to keep that relationship there, even though it's very friction, very fragile, and luckily that does get resolved quite early into the episode, where they all meet up. I assume it's the university grounds, and they're talking about, well, Buffy's asking them, who told you this, and that of course was Spike. Spike, to be honest, he's quite manipulative in this episode, but even though his plan keeps failing, in the end, because he's trapped in the Initiative with the Scooby Gang, he's having to help them out in order to help himself out. And I found at the end when he bursts into the room where Xander, Giles and Willow are, they're all looking at him and he goes, "You're not going to stake me, are you?" And then Xander's just looking at him and say, "I really haven't got the energy to stake you right now." Now, there's a brief scene with Xander and Anya where he's just lying in bed. He was supposed to go to the unemployment office, and she's trying to coax him, and like she basically says to him, "Well, it doesn't matter to me what your friends say. I still love you. You're my boyfriend." So sweet. They're like one of the best couples that I loved about this show as well. The other thing, let me just quickly check my notes, is Super Buffy at the end. If you haven't watched Prime Evil before, I'll explain it very briefly. The way that they think about for a plan to come up to defeat Adam is basically doing a ritual to enhance Buffy's strength and make them like a quad of people who are going to attack Adam. So basically there's Buffy, who's the vessel, and Xander, Giles and Willow, who are other separate components. I really like that. I really how when that happens, it seems to end Adam quite quickly. It's like over within like 3 minutes, quite quickly. I also loved the fact that it was Riley who stopped Forrest and killed Forrest. The thing that I want to mention about the ritual before I move on to the bad points is that the ritual is very important to this episode, but it causes the events in the season finale Restless. So basically, if you've not seen Restless, in them doing that ritual brings out the first Slayer, and she's haunting the Scooby Gang, the members of the who did the ritual in their sleeps because she's not happy with what happened. They've messed with the primeval essence of the Slayer, if that makes sense. So here are the things that I didn't like about the episode. Number one is Adam. For my liking, I've never liked Adam as a villain. He's very too much like Terminator, and especially when he does that thing with his arm and he turns into a machine gun. I just can't. I can't do it. He's just not a villain for me. The other thing I want to mention that I didn't like is Forrest. It's just Forrest. I've never liked Forrest as a character in the show. I've always been from the first start that he come in. I did not like him at all. He just was not for me. He was very snidey, very like anti-Buffy, and I feel like he was not a good addition to the show. Now, the other thing that I didn't like about this episode was Maggie Walsh is another thing about this episode that I didn't like her re-emergence into the show. I don't like the storyline. I don't like the characters, the antagonists. I don't like Adam. I don't like Maggie. I just no. Even though this episode, as a whole, was a really good episode, it just irks me that they have to be in there. Oh no! And it's like, for example, because in season 5 they got Glory as a god. It's like they had Adam as a man robot thing, which is practically like the what ring rung down from Glory from a god. Last thing that I want to mention before I end the first episode of Scouse Slayer's rewatch is the fact that Riley was in there. Obviously, he's a big part of it. In season 4, I was a fan of Riley. Not a big one, but I was a fan of him. I liked him in the show. My views have changed on that because I obviously don't like him in season 5 for obvious reasons. If you've watched season 5, you probably understand why. But from a point of view of Buffy's relationships in the show, he was the most grounded up until season 5. He was too much of a yes boy, yes man, yes soldier. I appreciate everybody who watches this. Like I said, always say in my videos, I appreciate it. This is something for me to build my confidence up, to get the show out there more, to connect with the fans, to connect with new fans who may not be may not be certain of what they want to do regarding of watching it. And really, the point of this Scouse Slayer's rewatch, instead of going season by season, let's jazz it up a bit. Let's make it something different. Let's give ourselves a bit of a pop look. That brings the first episode of Scouse Slayer's rewatch to a close. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on episode 2. Bye, Slayers!